Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday's EXSIN Live. We missed you guys.
Yeah.
And today we're going to talk about this new fad.
Oh boy.
In businesses, COVID.
There's so many of them.
COVID, I've heard more people complain about their meeting schedule and why they're not working from home since we've post-pandemic than I ever imagined. And we're gonna not disagree that too many meetings are a bad thing.
Yeah.
But the right meetings are absolutely appropriate, and being at a place with your teammates on a regular basis builds a stronger culture.
Yeah, it's you and I have pretty strong opinions about this.
Yep.
I think that I get that. In one of our businesses years ago, I started using virtual employees, letting them work from home. So I'm not saying it's all bad, but if you don't have let's say you do have folks working virtually still, and you decided that's the model that you're going to maintain. And there's a lot of companies that have done that.
That's okay.
That's okay. But you got to create opportunities. You got to create situations where they can come together as a team, have discussions, talk through challenges. That's where great ideas come from, are those conversations. So you've still got to create those opportunities to do team building and to have relationships with one another that aren't just through a screen.
Fact.
Good enough?
Fact. And so let's talk about the type of meetings you should have, what they should look like, and how you should build this system so it makes sense for your organization. You don't waste people's time.
Yeah.
Because I think the biggest thing is that most people come to meetings, they don't need to be there. They have nothing to add, and they feel like they've wasted their time.
Just sitting there.
So there's really three major meetings you can have. It's a tactical meeting, it's an operational meeting, and it's a strategic meeting.
Yep.
A strategic meeting needs to happen twice a year. You're talking strategic planning stuff. You're talking about big picture stuff with your senior staff, your managers, and it's 2 times a year, and you spend 2 days a year, and you go over where you are and where you're going.
Yep.
Pretty
Yeah. And strategic planning, I mean, we see it all the time. We go in and do strategic planning sessions with clients. There's so much value that comes out of that if you execute on it. Okay, this is a key thing. You can have those meetings, but if you don't execute on it, if you don't have hallway huddles, and if you don't have checkups throughout the course of the year, and if you're not doing all those things, then you're wasting your time even on the strategic.
So what you're saying is you shouldn't grab your plan off the shelf and go
yeah,
all the dust off. Is that what I'm hearing?
Not a good idea.
That's what most people do.
That is what most people do.
Let's be honest. That's our experience. They build a great plan. It's amazing.
It is a great plan.
And then they just go,
yeah, that's great. I feel
awesome.
good about it.
Glad we got a plan.
Let's all go back to doing what we were doing before.
Okay, so this is where the operational meeting comes into play. And that's a weekly meeting, maybe bi-monthly, twice a month meeting, depending on your battle rhythm for your organization. And that's one of those meetings where you're talking about operational issues in the organization that are keeping you from getting to where you are going to be, and wins for the team, celebrating wins. So that's anybody that's managing your operation, your salespeople, all that. They need to sit down and we need to talk. How are we on sales for the week? How are we on sales for the month, etc. And what are our next steps? Okay, what are we going to do? And who's responsible for what?
Yeah, if you don't do that, you're guessing, you're just hoping, you're dreaming. You can throw you use whatever words you want, but it's not a plan. It's not a strategy. It's not executable, because go back to what we said about strategic plans. If it gets dust on it, you have all the greatest stuff in there. Same thing with sales teams, right? If you got great salespeople, you got a great sales team. You go through the process of building their market plan. You identify their business plan for them. They're supposed to start executing on it, but they don't. And they fall back into those old habits of doing things exactly the way they've always done them. And then they're frustrated and don't understand why things haven't gotten better. It takes discipline to be successful in business.
Phil, I have a list.
You got a list.
I have a list.
Got a list. That's good. Got a list.
The whole point of this.
I use this. Well, I use it.
The whole point of this is people that are held accountable, not in a mean way, but have the discussion about where they are and what they're doing, perform better. We've had companies double their sales over a quarter because they got consistent activity and followed the plan in sales. We've had teams improve their operations because they defined what their processes were and they followed up to make sure they're executing what they were. And when those same companies struggle, we go back to the board and look what happened, and they stop having the meetings, they stopped executing their plan.
Well, and I think holding people accountable, that word accountability or holding people accountable gets a bad rap because I don't think people really understand what we're talking about when we say that. This isn't micromanagement.
It's iron fist.
It's not iron fist. It's not. It's professionals, adults having consistent conversations about what we all agreed upon was going to be the execution strategy. That doesn't seem like anything different than if you grew up playing sports, if you grew up being a member of the band, if you grew up being a member of a group, if you grew up doing anything, if your thing was theater, you all have a role and a plan and responsibilities that you're held accountable to by somebody, hopefully yourself, right? That's where you want to get. That's when there's true excellence, is when you're holding yourself accountable for these things. But accountability is not bad. It's just part of the process, and it gets a bad rap, I believe.
And you lose. Let's be honest for a second, Phil.
Okay.
If you and I were to work from home every day, how would that end up?
It'd suck. It'd be bad.
Why?
Because I would be doing 19 other things that are more fun than
I'd be
working.
I'd be running errands for the family, getting stuff done that we need to get
done.
Other family priorities, not necessarily work priorities, because it takes a significant amount of discipline. And Phil and I are fairly disciplined people.
Yeah.
But we understand the challenges.
When we didn't go to remember when all this first kicked off and it was like, good Lord.
We watched like 50 different shows.
Yeah, this is a recipe to be bankrupt. This is bad.
And look, your team isn't going to admit this. They're not going to tell you that. But let's be honest with each other. Let's be fair and honest.
Be adults.
Be adults, and be accountable to yourself and go, did I really work as hard as I should have? I know one of the others, I was all there 24/7. Okay, well, you were the anomaly. Okay. I appreciate that.
You're a liar, but okay.
So we're not saying you have to stop your remote work. We're saying you need to have
a plan,
a meeting schedule that works to hold people accountable. And then the last accountability meeting really there is a tactical, and it's a daily. I call it the cup of coffee meeting.
Yep.
It's a morning meeting for 15 minutes. You're with a cup of coffee in your office, or if you're virtually going, hey, what's up today? What are you doing? What do you need my help with?
Yep.
This is what I'm doing today. This is what I need your help with. We just hired a new employee at one of our companies, and I'm falling in love with her because yesterday I got an end-of-day recap. It was very thorough. It was amazing. She was at the office working, but she sent us the recap at the end of the day, and I am so proud of her and the team for allowing her to do that and what it's going to do inside the company.
Well, it's big time. I mean, something as simple as that, where she took 15 minutes and did a thoughtful recap and also asked good questions. I mean, it just keeps the machine moving. And that's what you should be trying to do if you're running a business. You got to keep the machine moving in a positive way where there's growth involved, where there's good quality of professional life for the people that are executing with you. But it all starts with a plan. You've got to execute on a plan.
Well, And Matt, our good friend Matt Wilson's on with us today, and he asked a great question. He goes, just for an example, how many people show up to their video meetings in shorts and flip-flops? More importantly, how many people have become famous because they did something stupid during the video meeting? They thought it was appropriate to act a fool.
Maybe infamous is a better word.
Infamous, fair.
Well, but I think, and I can't read it because I've got old man eyes. I can't read what Matt said, but I think that the biggest thing, you used to have 2015 vision.
Well, I did too. Informal interaction is lost, as Matt's comment.
It's 100% lost. It's 100% lost. And that's where the good stuff is, right? That's where a lot of problems are solved. That's where a lot of great ideas come from. I mean, so it's so valuable. That's why I say, if you absolutely have said, no, this is the model we're going to, a virtual model, you better create opportunities to have those things occur.
Well, Phil, who buys from you? What kind of people?
People that know, like, and trust you.
Who do you gain relationships with in your organization? People that know, like, and trust you?
Yeah, 100%.
How do you build know, like, and trust?
Well, they got to know you first.
How do they know you?
Well, you got to introduce yourself. You got to have conversations.
Does it work well online? I mean, did you date online? We're too old to do that.
No, but yeah, now everybody does. What's the fun in that? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know it's a different world, and that's okay. That's okay. It's a different world, but I do believe that I think a lot of people are seeing, a lot of very successful, smart people are seeing, and it's all over the news, to where this doesn't work as well, where they're requiring people to come back. And then there's, of course, strong opinions about that on both sides.
And then we have people throwing fits and quitting.
When worse than that, we have people who are, what's it called? Quietly quitting, where they're still collecting a check, but they've
not
quit.
working.
Yeah.
Because they're at home.
They're at home.
Nobody's holding them accountable.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a real problem.
If you guys aren't getting the trend here, look, open your eyes.
Yep.
Oh, stop being foolish and look at the data, look at the facts. If you can prove us wrong, show it to us. I'd love to see it, because we're not seeing that in the clients we work with. And we're working really hard to bring everybody back together to do great things. And if we don't get this turned around, a lot of companies are going to fail.
We had a new hire with one of the companies that we're fractional CEOs for. And one of the first things this new hire said is, well, do we meet regularly? Because she needed that and wanted that.
That's a fact.
And she got excited. And we said, well, yeah, we do a staff meeting every Monday. And, this is opportunity to share and, critique and bring ideas and talk about opportunities to get better and, just all these things. And, so I think more people like that than they don't. Now there are jobs, obviously, and I think, we got to be, I feel like we got to say this, but there are jobs out there. A lot of IT jobs are done virtually. That's fine. I mean, there's situational positions, I should say, that it works fine with. But even then, you still have to have those opportunities for people to come together. You have to have opportunities for people to come together.
Well, I worry about the young man or young woman sitting on their computer doing IT work by themselves all the time and their mental health, right?
Oh, it's brutal. I mean,
we like to talk about mental health and self-care. People need people. And if you say you don't, okay, there's one or two yet there. Most of us need interaction with other human beings.
Well, one of my sons, Jake, as you know, he's an IT engineer, and he sets he was completely virtual. And then he went to his supervisor, says, can I come in 3 days a week? And they're like, well, yeah.
We'd love for that.
And he's like, okay. And his whole reasoning was, listen, it's nice to have the flexibility. I like flex schedules. I do.
I agree.
I think flex schedules are great.
Especially if you have kids and your mom or dad. I get it.
Right. So we're not opposed to that. We don't think you should be locked to your desk with a ball and chain.
Well, then why do you
well, you're a different deal. But what we are saying is that there's people out there that we're assuming that they're okay with this. Jake said, I got to have interaction. I got to be able to go out and brainstorm and talk through situations. And, so he requested to go in and they were thrilled. I think there's a lot more people working virtual that they're not heard. They're like, well, I mean, it's nice, but it's also nice to go have coworkers. It's nice to have those relationships, to build those friendships. And that's something we got to continually work on with purpose. Used to be, it was just a natural part of living is you would have conversations with people. Now you almost find yourself having to manufacture those opportunities all the time just to have good conversations.
Well, and I'd offer you this final thing for if you have somebody that does not want to come to work ever for some reason, I'd
take a hard look at that.
Take a hard look at that. And if they're a high performer, got it. Yeah. They're the anomaly, but that is probably not going to be the case. And you're probably giving people free money for not doing any work.
Yeah. And I think you hit on a real key point too. I think, if you don't have that day to day where you can walk and talk as a leader with your people, you're not going to be able to pick up on things that you can help them with personally. I mean, it's just not going to be there. Did Matt give us some more wisdom?
Yeah. He says, I like, let's see. I like Tom Peters, I believe, working around works for me. Management by walking around. That is a fact. That is a absolute fact. And for owners, and I'm just going to do a sidebar on this, that is not something you schedule. Your team knows about when you're going to leave your desk and go around the organization. Nobody should know you're going to do it. And you will get some great feedback. I did this for years as a leader. And Matt is also right. You cannot do this virtually. It is impossible to management walking around virtually unless you have cameras in their house, which is a little bit creepy.
Yeah, a little bit creepy.
So Phil, do you have anything else for this?
Well, the only thing I would say about this is that human interaction is so important, and there's nuances that you miss out on if you're not sitting 2 feet from the person when you're doing.
What if somebody's struggling with depression?
That's my whole point.
I mean and they're about to hurt themselves, and you don't see them, and next thing you know, they've done something that's horrible to themselves.
I mean, a good friend of ours who's a client. You and I haven't talked a great deal about it, but had a rough day yesterday personally. And I was concerned because usually they're very quick on getting back with us. And I was concerned. And and sent them my last message. I think was like at 9:45 last night. Got nothing. This morning, called them, answered the phone first ring. First thing they said was, "Man, I'm sorry. I had a crappy day yesterday." And he just shut his phone off and just got away from every human being that he knew. But, you know, we were able to talk today, and you know, those things are important. I mean, human beings were built to be around other human beings. They weren't built to be robots.
Nope.
You know,
Well,
and so, well, a little bit, but just with spreadsheets. But I think it's important to look out for your buddy, you know, in the military, we call them battle buddies, right? You know, there's a reason why you have a battle buddy. It's to take care of each other, you know, and that's important. So I think don't lose sight of that. I think too many times people that are maybe grew up in my generation with all the conversations about being woke or not woke, or are you woke, or is this or that. I'm not talking about being woke. I'm talking about being a human being and
being
caring,
a good person,
just caring about other human beings and being available when they need you, because we're all going to need help along the way. It's a long road.
So I'll close this out with a recap.
Okay.
Daily tactical, 5 minutes. Have a purpose, 5 minutes. Check on your team. Make sure they're where they need to be every day. Once a week or twice a month, have an operational meeting. We were talking about your metrics, stats, holding people accountable where you are and what help people need. Twice a year, a strategic planning meeting. We were talking about where we are on the strategic plan and what we need to do to get there. Don't wait till the end of the year to know you're behind is the whole point.
Yeah, do not.
So with that, Dave and Phil, EXSIN Live, we are out of here.